training at the Acumen Institute for the Family. On behalf of Acumen, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's lecture. It is the first in our Distinguished Family Therapy lecture series. And this year we are honoring those people who were so influential at Acumen and in the field of family therapy. I am very thankful to Sierra, who is in the background, but who does a lot of work to make this lecture possible. So thank you very much, Sierra. Also, we are conducting this as a webinar. We are recording. We will not be bringing any of the participants on because we do not have media release forms from any of you. When the recording is available, all of those who have registered will receive a link to the recording. We're going to ask that you use the question and answer feature. I will be, along with Sierra, monitoring that as well as chat, but we hope you'll use the Q&A. And I will read questions to Dr. Imber-Black. We ask that you wait until you're invited to ask those questions, and we will certainly read them out, and Dr. Imber-Black will respond to them. It is indeed an honor and a privilege for me to introduce Dr. Evan Imber-Black tonight. I have certainly admired Dr. Imber-Black since my career began, and am tremendously happy to have her talk with us tonight. Dr. Imber-Black is the director of the Marriage and Family Therapy program at Mercy College, the former editor of Family Process, also faculty emerita at the Acumen Institute for the Family, and the founder and director of the Center for Families and Health at Acumen. She is the past president of AFTA, the American Family Therapy Academy, the recipient of AFTA's 1990 Award for Distinguished Contribution to Family Therapy Theory and Practice. Additionally, Dr. Imber-Black is the recipient of the 1999 AAMFT, that's the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapies, Cumulative Contribution to Marriage and Family Therapy. Dr. Imber-Black is the author of over 80 papers and has written several books, including The Secret Life of Families and Rituals in Families and Family Therapy. This is a snapshot of the long and stellar career that Dr. Imber-Black has had. And with that, I welcome Dr. Imber-Black, and I turn it over to you, Evan.
Thank you, Marlene. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be back at Acumen and to have an opportunity to talk with all of you tonight about one of my favorite subjects, family secrets. I've organized this in a way where I will be speaking, then I'll take breaks for questions, and I'll speak some more. I'm not going to be showing video, and I'm not going to be showing PowerPoint. So you just get to listen to me. So I want to begin with one of my favorite quotes about secrets from the poet and essayist Cecil Bach. Secrecy is as indispensable to human beings as fire, and as greatly feared. Both enhance and protect life, yet both can stifle, lay waste, spread out of all control. Both can be used to guard intimacy or to invade it, to nurture or to consume. And both can be turned against itself. Barriers of secrecy are set up to guard against secret plots and surreptitious prying, just as fire is used to fight fire. I'm going to talk for a little while about secrets in the therapeutic context and tell you a lot of stories. And then we'll look at some, I'll stop and take some questions. Then we'll look at certain things that you should be aware of when you're working with secrets. And then we'll go back to some more theory and stories. I know they know because my sisters know and their grown children know. I can't tell you how many times we've sat together with our sons and daughters looking at their wedding pictures, and never once have they asked to see ours, not one of them. These words of Carol Littleton, a name changed, of course, reflecting on the aching half-century secret that her two oldest children were born before her legal marriage in 1950. It almost seems like a quaint secret today. Portray the unacknowledged knowing that surrounds so many family secrets. Carol appreciates that the unasked question often equals silent awareness. The seemingly hidden is obviously known in her family. Couple and family therapists encounter secrets frequently. At times, this knowledge is just at the edge of awareness. Conversations in therapy continually lead down blind alleys. Clients make swift topic changes just when you're on the verge of discovery, or your questions are not met with, are met with repeated and deafening silences. I'm sure this sounds familiar to a lot of you. At other moments, a secret spills out in a therapy session, unplanned, fervent, unbalancing of others in the room, including the therapist. And at still other times, a secret is opened with careful planning, with anticipation of a range of responses and preparation for next steps. Hints of secrecy danced around the edges of my work with the Littleton family. We don't like outsiders, they told me in the first session. We treat outsiders with politeness and distance. I said, who are outsiders? Everyone except our family members. I thought, oh, good luck, therapist. When I inquired who outsiders were, they told me everyone except their family. As their therapist, I would need to ponder just how to penetrate, quote, politeness and distance. Carol Littleton didn't wake up one morning and decide to make a secret, one that bathed her in shame and anxiety. Her husband held the secret with her. They never spoke of it. Their relationship grew distant. They hid their wedding license in the bottom of an old trunk, never celebrated their anniversary, and overlooked their children's birthdays. When I met them, Carol was racked with anxiety that manifested in a fear of germs and repetitive hand washing. All manner of interventions had been visited upon her before I met them. Hospitalizations, medication, behavioral therapy, individual therapy, couple therapy. My own decision was to try family therapy, which had not been tried with the couple and their grown children, and occasionally working in subsystems. It was in such a subsystem session with Carol and her husband, many months into the therapy, that her central secret spilled out. Her 2 older daughters were born before she and her husband were wed. The secret's genesis lie in a painful disapproval from both families of origin. The shaming of Carol by her future mother-in-law, yet another secret, because this one was kept from her husband. And the actions of the wider culture who blamed women for so-called pregnancy out of wedlock, 1950s. Shame and secrecy waltzed together in a light and tight circle. The more shame, the more secrecy, the more secrecy, the more shame. Carol's secret was one that everyone in the family knew, as Carol imagined, but were enjoined from acknowledging. Our work turned to ways for just that to happen. Carol and her husband planned with me to invite their adult children to a session and talk over what had strangled their family for 50 years. Carol brought their wedding license, a tangible symbol of the secret. The grown children wept, staring at the wedding license that they said they had also found in the bottom of an old trunk when they were adolescents and knew not to ask. In 2 more months of work in therapy, Carol's anxiety abated, her medications were tapered off, and her hand washing ceased. She began to play the piano again after about 40 years. We celebrated the couple's anniversary in therapy, the first open celebration in 51 years. Touch any family deeply, and you'll likely find secrets. Often these mysteries are hiding in plain sight, whether known by all but off limits for conversation, or grasped directly by some and only obtusely by others. Such secrets are often sewn into the intergenerational family quilt, alternately offering comforting warmth and overheated suffocation. Or they may have been created last week, while nonetheless in harmony with a well-known family script. Secrets may be created with the best of intentions to protect, even to survive. Over time, their maintenance may require lying and subterfuge, impeding clarity and corrupting meaning. Family and couple therapists may start a therapy because a secret's been revealed, and both individuals and family relationships are unbalanced. An individual family member or part of a family wants therapy to talk over the possibility of opening a secret, or a secret may open in the midst of a therapy. Probably a lot of you have had that happen, sometimes with planning and sometimes not. We need to be prepared with knowledge for working with secrets, holding secrets with calmness, and enabling couples and families to work toward resolution. The starting place for couple and family therapists, well before encountering a secret in therapy, is our own experience with secrecy in our families of origin. Consider the family gatherings of your childhood. The adults were in one room, the children in another. Voices from the grown-ups grew louder and louder and more intense. You couldn't resist, at least I couldn't, entering to see what was causing the commotion. And when you entered, the room fell silent, the subject swiftly changed to the banal, "Go play," said your mother. "Little pitchers have big ears." That was one that I heard a lot when I was a kid. Little pitchers have big ears. If you were like me, you found a hiding place where you could listen. Training to be a therapist, I guess. The top of the stairs where you couldn't be seen, or near a heating vent where sound traveled. And if you were like my brother, you went to your room and shut the door, preferring not to know. Nearly all the therapists I work with in training will tell me that they've been the person others told their pain and sadness and secrets to. Most often, they've developed a model of keeping the secrets of others with no methods or ideas for how to carefully open these. This method comes along as young therapists meet clients, as they're taught more complex ways to work with secrets. Often, the therapist needs to hold the anxiety generated by a secret, all the while figuring out next steps. So it's, the 2 or 3 things at once that we need to do. I'm going to just get a sip of water here. Thanks, everybody. Jacob was a small boy growing up in a Catholic home in Munich in the 1970s. Every day after school, he and his younger sister were enchanted by their paternal grandmother's family stories, recounted at the kitchen table over hot chocolate and biscuits. And every day her stories would suddenly halt as she busied herself at the stove. When Jacob asked her to tell more, she always told him to go play. His sister showed no curiosity, instead running outside. But Jacob preferred to stay and watch his grandmother fix dinner, vainly hoping she would speak more. Her cooking was different from that of his friends and his own mother. He watched intently as she lit candles in her home on anniversaries for dead relatives, rather than going to church as his parents did. And when he asked her why she did this, her face turned sad while her words were flippant. Like many children, Jacob grew baffled in a context where looks and words oppose, as they often do when secrets are held. And like some children, his perplexity drove him to search for more. "How did I get my name?" he would ask, a name no one else in his school had. His usually kind grandmother told him sharply to stop being a pest and change the subject. As a teen, he became drawn to Judaism, incurring the simultaneous wrath of his father, confusion of his mother, distance of his sister, and silent support of his grandmother. Suddenly, his father and grandmother, a previously close mother and son, were constantly arguing about meaningless matters. Their impersonal interactions served to fuel Jacob's scrutiny. Only gradually was Jacob able to unravel the knotted story of his grandparents' conversion to Catholicism during the rise of Nazism, a secret even his own mother did not know. And his name, chosen by his grandmother, he discovered, was the name of his late great-grandfather, an observant Jew. So how do you discern the presence of a secret? Verbal and nonverbal discrepancies grow in the soil of secrecy. The spoken and the unspoken simply do not match. A small boy comes upon his seriously ill mother weeping and is told, quote, "Everything is just fine." Teens see their drunken father passed out on the couch daily, while their mother insists, "Daddy is simply tired from work and taking a nap." Further inquiries are blocked. Soon, the siblings are talking only with each other, knowing while pretending not to know. Communication becomes unreliable, marked by uncomfortable silences and veneers of politeness, alternating with meaningless arguments that fill the house with noise. Subject changes are swift. More and more topics go off limits. Less talking about one thing might lead to another and finally end with talking about what you're not supposed to talk about. Problem solving becomes impossible as critical subjects cannot be discussed. Genuine conversation disappears, replaced with trivia and stilted non sequiturs. Spontaneity in family relationships is sacrificed on the altar of caution and hypervigilance. Topics are avoided that might remotely touch upon a secret, and distance between people seems fixed and immutable. Relationships grow untrustworthy, replaced by myths, masks, and illusions. In an atmosphere marked by secrecy, children and adolescents expend energy searching for clues, energy better spent getting schooling and friendships. Like Jacob, they may become increasingly curious about the unnamed and the unknown, shaping their identity in the quest to discover. They may turn away, seemingly uninterested, confirming their parents' insistence that the matter, a divorce, a serious illness, a father's job loss, a grandparent's death, is of no matter. Or they may provide distractions through confounding yet metaphorical behavior that is code for some aspect of the hidden. Kalinda and her two daughters, Bethany, 11, and Sherry, 7, appeared frozen and unable to speak about anything more than the weather or what to have for dinner that night. They seemed frightened, closed in on themselves. They had been referred to the Center for Families and Health at the Ackerman Institute for the Family by the girl's pediatrician, who was concerned that Sherry, a little one, was quite overweight. Bethany appeared isolated from her mom and her sister and overwhelmed with sadness, while Sherry was glued to her mother, unable to respond without checking for maternal affirmation. In reviewing a typical day with the family, we discovered that in the evening, Bethany went to her room while Mother and Sherry sat at the kitchen table eating ice cream and cookies. Asked gently about their father in an initial session of family therapy, all three began to cry uncontrollably. Through sobs came a story of the death 4 years earlier of their father, Robert, a death not spoken of and of a life no longer acknowledged. Kalinda said, "We don't talk about him," and closed the door on the conversation. Privately, Kalinda recounted that Robert had fallen down a flight of stairs becoming paralyzed. Quote, she said to me, he overdosed on narcotic pain patches. Bethany found him. Responding to whether his death was a suicide, Kalinda responded, he used multiple patches of fentanyl. Who does that? And then she refused to speak about it further. Sorry, my cat is blocking the light. Okay. The girls had been given no story about their father's death. Any discussion of his life was taboo. During a conversation while looking at family photographs, a telling interactional dance among mother and daughters emerged. The more the girls showed excitement and delight, viewing old memories that included their father, vacations, birthday parties, Christmas, the more Kalinda slid into a corner of the room, her face glowering, her body slumped. Suddenly aware of their mother disappearing in their midst, the girls' giggles stopped abruptly. After a long silence, Bethany spoke. He beat our mother. He promised over and over not to do it. He brought presents each time and flowers for our mom. I used to get in between and make him stop. When our father died, I was glad it was over, but you're not supposed to say things like that. Not able to, quote, say things like that meant there were no conversations about Robert, his life, their marriage, his drinking, the abuse, Bethany's rescue of her mother time and time again, or Sherry's utter fear of losing her mother too. Complex stories of a man at once generous to his children and brutal to his wife could finally be spoken of in this family therapy. An authentic conversation became possible. Sherry inquired, "What's that silver-covered dish in your room, Mom?" Robert's ashes were in an urn on Kalinda's dresser that the children were, quote, not supposed to notice. A symbol of all that was secret, hiding in plain sight. As in many families, there were multiple secrets, including a funeral the daughters were not allowed to attend for fear that they would hear the truth of their father's death, the blame that paternal grandparents placed on their mother, the argument between Kalinda and her in-laws over the disposal of his ashes. As secrets were opened and finally metabolized by the family, mother and daughters were able to make a plan for a memorial ritual, simultaneously honoring the good aspects of husband and father while also acknowledging the cruel facets. Contrary to popular myth promulgated in contemporary culture by television talk shows and the internet, secrets dwell far less in specific content and far more in triangle relationships. Our daily electronic diet of extramarital affairs, financial shenanigans, or tweeted genitalia would have us believe that complex secrets are easily resolved by the next commercial break, the next Facebook post. I am far more interested in where a secret lives and how a secret thrives than in a secret's subject matter. The very same secret at the level of content, be it paternity, infertility, life-shortening illness, suicide, or an affair, will hold distinctive meanings in different relationships. belying the one-size-fits-all approach of pop psychology books or rigid models of therapy. Maintaining a secret that lives and breathes every day in a family, alcoholism, drug abuse, marital distance, discord, requires the skills of a high-wire acrobat. Family members must organize their lives to preserve secrecy while at the same time pretending not to notice. A child such as Bethany stays up too late, fearing when her father will return and her mother will again be beaten. The next morning, as she exhaustedly drags herself to school, no one comments on what took place. Adolescents may be told that individuality is valued while breathing in the unspoken message that family loyalty always takes precedence. Boundaries between the family and the outside world of friendships and social interests becomes impenetrable. The no trespassing sign is bidirectional. Let's talk about distinguishing secrecy and privacy, because that is always a question. Once a secret opens, a new boundary is created, a boundary of privacy. Secrets are accompanied by shame. Private matters are not. Abuse is often blanketed by the word private, when in fact, secrecy pertains. A person with HIV has the right to privacy from work colleagues, friends, and even family members. That right rapidly comes to an end with a potential sex partner. A birth mother who gives her child up for adoption may invoke a right to privacy. And for decades, our government agreed. Today, an adult adoptee may insist that preventing knowledge of his or her birth or their origins rather is a secret that no one has a right to maintain. When information is withheld, it impedes a person's ability to think with clarity and make sound decisions about central life plans, choices, and then secrecy pertains. The truly private does not impact our well-being. Helping clients to distinguish secrecy and privacy in couple and family therapy is critical to successful outcomes. So think about it. Privacy draws necessary boundaries, while secrecy builds walls. Private matters do not rob husbands and wives of information they have a need or even a right to know, while secrets do. That which is private does not raise anxiety in the couple and family, while that which is secret often does. Relationships are not handicapped by privacy, but rather by secrecy. Secrets are magnets in family relationships, attaching some members while repelling others. They create a complex web of repetitive interactions, shaping contours of proximity and distance, sculpting relationships. Those who know become uncomfortably bound to one another, unable to acknowledge differing thoughts and beliefs, even in domains outside of the secret. Unless you're keeping a secret completely to yourself, a secret creates and maintains a triangle. The two or more than two who know, and everyone else on the outside. As soon as two or more people know a secret, regardless of the content, a labyrinthine relational geometry emerges. When triangles are shaped by secrets, some relationships are allowed closeness while others are in constant conflict, marked by distance or cutoff. The secret-keeping relationship itself becomes a secret. Couple and family therapists must bring awareness of triangles to working with secrets and avoid triangulation of oneself. Anniversary reactions often vary secrets. Unexplainable behavior and emotions appear. Angry outbursts in an otherwise calm child. Sadness and withdrawal in a usually gregarious father. Often bewildered, others may respond with silence, distance, or conflict, inadvertently missing the mark. Careful examination of the calendar reveals the anniversary of a death unmourned. A suicide 2 generations ago, never mentioned. A mother's cancer diagnosis kept from the children, or a child given up for adoption. These unspoken losses burrow deep in the fabric of relationships, ripping open during each family's hurricane season. Jaime Alvarez was an intellectually promising 17-year-old high school senior when he began hearing voices telling him to harm his stepmother, Anna. He was quickly hospitalized, diagnosed with a first episode of schizophrenia, and put on antipsychotic medication. At the same time, the family was told to go for family therapy. We soon discovered that Jaime's, quote, episode coincided with the second anniversary of his beloved grandmother's death. No one in the family had made any connection between the anniversary and Jaime's behavior. Jaime was raised from infancy by his grandmother in Mexico. The summer before her death, his father, Alberto, brought him to New York, quote, just for the summer, keeping his grandmother's life-shortening cancer a secret from him. I didn't want to upset him. I just wanted to protect him and let him have a fun summer, the father said. When his grandmother died that August, Jaime remained in New York with his father and stepmother. No ritual in New York marked his grandmother's death. And because of immigration concerns, Jaime was not allowed to go to Mexico for her funeral. Conversations in the family about this most important relationship for Jaime were non-existent. My father just told me my grandmother died. That was it. I was so upset and confused that we didn't even go to church for a mass. This silence mirrored the absence of any conversation about his biological mother, as well as any story of his father and stepmother's migration, or his life with his grandmother. As in many families, secrets were multiple and linked to one another. Jaime spoke little to his father and less to his stepmother. What was the mystery that would account for the voices, quote, telling him to harm Anna. And where was Jaime's biological mother? All of this remained out of reach for many weeks until Anna felt enough courage to speak in a family therapy session, telling a story replete with secrets. While Jaime's grandmother loved him deeply and took very good care of him and encouraged him to be an excellent student, she had, in fact, driven off both his mother and his stepmother. Anna's stories that day had never been heard before by Alberto or by his son. Not wanting to turn Alberto against his own mother, Anna kept her maltreatment a secret. When she gave birth to their daughter, she simply insisted that they migrate. Jaime's grandmother begged her son to leave Jaime, just a toddler, with her. Jaime grew up hearing terrible stories about his stepmother. Setting in motion a fathomless triangle, his grandmother vowed him to secrecy. This information must be kept and not known by anyone. Multiple layers of secrecy and silence in all corners of this well-meaning family nearly created a permanent tragedy of psychiatric misdiagnosis and irreparable relationships. Just prior to the anniversary of his grandmother's death, an anniversary with no markers and no conversations, Anna had begun to help Jaime with his college applications. I felt so confused. My grandmother told me never to let Anna into my life. I needed to be loyal to her. And yet here was Anna being so sweet and loving and helpful. No one acknowledged my grandmother's death. I knew she would not want me to be living here, and especially to be letting my stepmother help me. None of it made any sense. I felt like my head was going to explode. Stories in a family are sometimes hidden in the attic at a great price. Resolution for Jaime and his family came with the requirement of holding profound contradictions. Invited to pen a letter of goodbye to his dead grandmother, Jaime found a way to clasp these incongruities and dissolve the secret maintaining triangle that he was in. Not only, this is his quote, "Not only are my father and I your sons, but my stepmother is also your daughter," he wrote to his grandmother. Deciding when or whether to open a secret requires careful consideration. If a secret has been maintained for a long period of time, you do not need to open it in the next session. Rather, you have time for a period of contemplation, examining reasons for the original secret keeping, and questioning the likely impact of opening a secret on every member of the family. Conversely, if a secret is maintaining abuse or immediate danger, opening it carefully and quickly in order to reestablish safety is required. Does a given secret wholly belong to one person, or is it co-owned? The latter requires collaborative decision-making to speak or remain silent. When there has been deep silence, the very act of speaking about whether or not to speak begins a process of change. Is there one person or more than one whose life is centrally impacted by a secret? While a cancer diagnosis is knowledge that belongs to the patient, maintaining such a diagnosis from children impacts their lives, as the presence of a secret distorts family communication, emotional responses, and closeness and distance. Does someone have an ethical right to knowledge buried in a secret? Secrets of birth origin, medical diagnosis, and terminal illness pertain to one's identity and autonomy. Keeping such secrets from a person involves arrogance. Quote, I know what's best for you to know in areas that directly impact your life, unquote. What relationships are handicapped by the presence of a secret? Distance, silence is interrupted by unexplained anger, cutoffs, anxiety, unnecessary sadness, all may accompany a family secret. Friendships and intimate relationships may be sacrificed. Fear of exposure may bathe a family member. The timing of when to open a secret is best, excuse me, I'm sorry. The timing of when to open a secret is best when this can be planful in therapy. However, there are times when there's urgency. When Cora Green came to family therapy with her 22-year-old daughter, Ella, they needed to quickly plan opening a secret to Ella's 10-year-old son, Benjamin. Ella had been raped by her stepfather and become pregnant at age 12. Confused about what was happening to her body, Ella kept her pregnancy a secret from everyone, including herself, until an abortion was too late. The stepfather went to prison, and Cora raised Benjamin as her son. I always knew we would tell Benjamin the truth, but I had hoped it would be later, Cora said, while Ella nodded. Unfortunately, Benjamin's father was to be released from prison on parole in 6 weeks, and the family feared that despite an order of protection, his relatives would now disclose the secret. Ella was in college and wanted to maintain her position as Benjamin's, quote, big sister. She knew he had to be told by them rather than his finding out in some accidental, unplanned way. In therapy, they role-played and rehearsed telling Benjamin this painful paternity secret. Cora and Ella decided they wanted the therapist to meet Benjamin, and then they told him the secret at home. Following the revelation, all three came to therapy for a time. This secret was heavy and a lot for a young boy to understand. Therapy focused on the love Benjamin had in his family with Cora and Ella. He understood they would protect him. Like many secrets, the content of the secret was such that it would need to be revisited many times as Benjamin became an adolescent and an adult. It's not unusual for a secret to open in couple or family therapy. A secret tumbles out unplanned. A therapist senses a secret and fashions questions leading to discovery. A client comes to therapy alone initially in order to reveal a secret, an affair, fraud, a drug problem, an illness. A systems therapist does not assume that this is sufficient. Therapy is not a confessional. Rather, our assumption must be that secrets are relational. Our questions need to focus on the future, assisting imagination of what will change when a secret opens. A vital homework requires asking a client or clients, what are the advantages and disadvantages of opening the secret on each relevant person and each relevant relationship in the system? Most people conjecture a catastrophe and then slowly begin to see all the good that may come. The work that will need to be done both in therapy and between sessions in order to resolve a painful secret comes into focus. The opening of a painful secret often provokes a crisis. It is our job to be the voice for slow and careful resolution. We live in a time when the wider societal message is, have a secret, just blurt it out, coupled with, move on, what's your problem? Simply opening a secret is only the beginning of the work. Facilitating relationship change that inevitably follows a secret's revelation is the essence of work with secrets in couple and in family therapy. Now, I'm going to stop at this point. I'm going to pause and take whatever questions we may have. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. We do have one question. First and foremost, this participant wanted to thank you for your important work and shedding light on how secrets affect us.
Well, thank you.
The question is, to hear your thoughts on how secrets work their way into the fabric of a broader societal construct. Is it different by culture? And if this secret keeping is so intrinsic to our learned behavior, how does that play out on a larger stage in the workplace politically?
Yeah, okay, wow, that's quite a question.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to talk about some of that in the next section of this, but let me just say, one of the things that we always want to pay attention to are the larger systems that people are embedded in. And is it a larger system that is open, that people can get information, or is it closed and secretive? And so where people work, where they go to school, where they worship, on and on, certainly can be a juncture for secrets. Many years ago, and I don't mean only to highlight this particular incident, because there are many we could choose. Probably some of you or a lot of you remember the crisis in the Catholic Church about the abuse of young boys by some priests. And there was a week-long think tank that I was invited to try to address this problem. The people there were some bishops, some priests, some couple psychologists, myself, one of them, some parents whose children had been abused, some children now a little more grown who had been abused. And we met like that for, I think it was 4 or 5 days in St. Louis, trying to figure out what is an approach to this. I wish I could say to you that we came up with the final answer. We certainly did not. We certainly did not. But it was a place where people gave testimony, where boys, now young men, could come and speak about what their experience had been, and something that had been so hidden and so secret within the church. And we know now, of course, this happens in a lot of different religious settings, but this was one particular one, came to light and couldn't be hidden any longer. So, if you look around larger systems, I hope I'm answering your question. I don't know, I'm sort of going off on a tangent here. But I think there are often secrets within larger systems, whether that's a work system, a religious setting, a university, a school, a job of some kind. There may be secrets that are not just between two people or three people, but which permeate the whole larger system and are protected by the larger system. And that's what needs to be addressed. When we discover that, when we see that in our own, whether that be in our own work settings or the work setting of a client, that the larger system is enabling the process of secrecy to go on. I hope I answered that question. I can't hear you.
So sorry, I keep forgetting to unmute myself.
It's okay.
We have several more questions, and if you need to move on, just stop me.
No, let's take some. Let's take some questions. That's how I laid this out.
Okay. This one is asking if you have encountered any examples when secret and not privacy have been appropriate, when secrets and not privacy have been appropriate.
Wow. Well, sure. I can't think of one offhand, but I think, if you think about a couple, let's say, who keep a particular secret between the two of them, and they don't tell extended family, and it's more than privacy. It is indeed a secret of some kind. Maybe, I guess one that I know I've encountered in therapy is infertility, where a couple may decide, we're not telling anybody that this is what we're dealing with. And if we're able to have a child using alternate means of reproduction, that stays with us. Now, the question then becomes, what about the rights of the child when the child is 19? But certainly that's an example that I've seen. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, and this next one, what happens when someone may have a secret and does not want to give permission as they think they own it?
Does not want to give permission for it to be opened, you mean?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what this is intended.
Yeah, and it's, I guess what I would need more information. What I would need to know is this one person's secret? Is it impacting other people's well-being? See, I think that's an important question for us as therapists. People have a right to keep individual secrets to themselves, providing it's not impacting other people's well-being. And that would be my question to whoever. And what does this say? To what degree do you? Oh, I lost it.
Okay, and then I think as another part of this, what happens when someone makes a decision that looks illogical or irresponsible, such as allowing their father who abused them to live on the bottom floor and hadn't chosen to tell the husband?
And that would come to a therapist's attention, how? I guess I'd want to know, first of all. If somebody comes in with that and speaks about it in therapy, they come in alone, let's say, I'm going to assume they want my help with it, or they wouldn't be telling me. You know, there's lots of things people don't tell us, that's for sure.
That is true.
And that may be all for the good. But if they tell us something and then they say, but I'm not telling anybody this, then I would want to know, what are they looking for? And I would spend a good bit of time on that, because you know, are there situations where somebody just needs to speak their own truth and have someone witness it? Sure, sure. That would be a very short-term therapy, I would think. But more to my experience, when people come in and say they come in alone and they start with the premise, I'm going to tell you something, but you can't tell anybody. Okay. I would want to slow them down a little bit. First of all, it's not my place to go spread their whatever. But I would want to know, why are they telling me that? Why are they saying, I'm going to tell you something, but you can't tell anybody? They're coming to me or to you or to any of us for a reason. And I don't think it's just to unload. Okay, I doubt that very much. And this might be slow going. I would want to know, what do they fear would be the consequences of this one knowing, that one knowing, the other one knowing, and so forth. And what can I help them with? Because if somebody comes in and kind of, shall we say, lays a secret on us and then says, but you can't tell anybody, they're looking for something. And I'd like to know what is it that I can help them with? And then we'll find out.
Mm-hmm. This next one is asking to know more about behaviors around anniversaries when there is a secret.
Okay. I could use a little more detail on that one, but behaviors of the couple whose anniversary it is. That's, I'm not too sure what the.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
So let's just assume that it may be behaviors of the couple.
Yeah. Well, I want to know what those behaviors are. Something has catapulted them into couples therapy, I hope. And what are the associations to that anniversary? Was this a required marriage, so to speak? Was the woman pregnant? If it's a heterosexual relationship, is the couple, have they been and are they still disapproved of by other people, their families of origin, and so forth? So I need to get the whole story, or as much of the whole story as I can get. And that's what we all need to do. People come in, they may present us with something that appears sort of mysterious, you know. That story that I told about the mother and the two daughters, they didn't come in to talk about the dead father. They came in because the little one's pediatrician said, your daughter's overweight, you better go to therapy. Okay. And it was only in about, I would say, the third session, which was a session alone with the mother, that the story came out about the father and his brutality and so on. Up till then, he had been sort of like a hero who died and, wasn't talked about very much. And so freeing yourself from the idea, if you have been taught this idea, that you have to see everybody all the time, I would say no. But if somebody, so to speak, lays a secret on you, you better have some thoughts about where you're going to go with that, because it can upend a therapy completely if somebody says, I'm going to tell you something, but you can't tell anybody. As soon as I hear that sentence, I say, wait, slow down. Because there's some reason you want me to know something. I do find that when people want me to know something, it's because they want my help with it. They want my point of view. They want my direction, whatever, use a few different words. And so I'm assuming that that's where we're about to go. Am I right? And if they say, no, I just want to tell you, I might decline. I might say, that's not going to get us anywhere. So let's think about it. You don't have to say anything more today. I'd like you to go home and consider the pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages of letting other people in your family system, or an adult spouse, or whoever it might be, know whatever it was you were about to tell me. So I decline in those instances, doesn't happen very often, but to be the receptacle for something that I can't do anything with. Okay, we're relationship therapists. And that's the thing about secrets, I guess, that has fascinated me for all these years, is the impact that it has on people's relationships.
You've answered the next question, so I'm going to go to the one after.
Okay.
This one says, thank you for today's webinar. So exciting for us Aussies to be able to attend in our morning. So welcome.
Oh, wow.
Aussies, yes.
Good morning.
I was wondering if there are cultural considerations that you are aware of with secrets and secret truth-telling.
Secret truth-telling?
Well,
meaning...
when I'm assuming that if it's a secret or if somebody starts to tell the truth about something.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's there are differences that you can draw having to do with ethnicity, religion, age, gender. All of those categories have different ways of handling secrets. I've got a cat walking across the screen. Sorry about that. Come on, beat it. Well, you all just got to see her beautiful tail. Yeah, it's all those categories. I hope that answered the question. I don't know if it did.
Okay. And this one is, to what degree do you advocate the value of revealing a secret to a client? I have someone now who does not want to tell the husband about her affair because of her fear he will be hurt. Instead, she would rather divorce him.
Oh.
There are lots of clashes in sensibilities and values between the two. Yeah,
wow. There's a lot to that one. I don't know exactly. Yes. I think I would need more information. If somebody's coming into us and saying, well, I think I'd rather get a divorce than tell him, I guess I would think probably they want to get a divorce. I mean, I'd weigh that. I'd have them go and think about it. I would look at advantages and disadvantages of each of those possibilities. But, oh, stop it, cat. I'm sorry, guys. Because that choice, whether I tell someone and maybe, quote, hurt their feelings, or I get a divorce, is, you know, and so I think I better get a divorce. Sounds to me like someone who would like a therapist to give them permission to get a divorce.
Sounds like
Right?
it.
Yeah, yeah.
It does. This next question is, what recommendations would you offer for survivors of sexual abuse where the mother knew about the abuse and stayed with the abuser and the child had to leave?
Oh boy. There's a lot of work that has to be done there. I mean, I guess I would start with some individual work with the person who had been abused. I would do a genogram, find out who are all these people. I would want to know what kind of relationship does she currently have with her mother. Is there anything about that she wants to change? In other words, I got to find out why she's coming to see me in the first place. That's a hard one because it's an easy one to make judgments about, right? It sounds terrible, and it probably was. And so I'd want to know more about that, more about what is her relationship like with her mother. Are there things she wants to tell her mother that she's not telling her, that she'd like my help to do so, invite her mother into therapy? And to know that, I mean, if her mother is still with the person who abused this young person, it sounds like it's going to be a pretty limited relationship. And is that what the mother wants? You know, that's a very complex set of issues that I want to know more about on each piece.
Okay, we're going to have two more questions. You want to take them?
Okay, yeah, sure, and then we'll move on.
Okay. Is there any situation where the reveal of a secret can create more problematic situations than the secret itself?
Oh, I'm sure there are. I mean, offhand, can I think of one? No, but you know, what can I say? Anything is possible, right? Anything is possible. So I haven't experienced that myself. I'm always kind of slow and careful with secret openings. Sometimes people come in, they want to, you know, have people in the next week and tell them everything. No, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. And find out the advantages and disadvantages on each person and on each relationship, and on the relationship to that central person who's coming to see you, before you go anywhere else with something like that.
This last question is about someone who worked with a couple, and the husband had had an affair, said it had ended, and they worked on trust and relational issues and terminated on a positive note. The therapist never felt good or comfortable about the work and figured they were a bad therapist. Turned out that the husband had continued the affair throughout the therapy, and the couple later divorced. So this person is asking how they could have used their countertransference more usefully in the treatment.
You know, that one's hard for me because I don't think about countertransference or transference, but that's okay. I guess I'm curious as to how the therapist found out that this is what transpired, that through the whole therapy, this guy was lying. And I hate when people lie to me in any context, but especially in therapy. Doesn't happen all that often. But somehow the therapist found this out. And now that they're not your clients anymore, there's not much you can do about it other than to try to reconstruct it in your own thinking, and maybe with a colleague or a supervisor or a consultant. What did I miss? How did I not know? You know, what questions should I have asked? So turn it into some kind of learning experience for yourself. There's not much you can do about the couple because they're not your clients anymore.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
Now,
we had one.
Marlene, I have something here on the side of my screen. It says clear all. I'm terrified I'm going to take all of us down, but I hope not.
Okay, Sierra.
Do you see it, Sierra? I don't know where this even came from.
I'm not sure. You shouldn't see
Yeah.
it. Maybe it's
All right.
something else.
All right, let's not worry about it. You don't see it. If you don't see it, then nobody else sees it. I don't know what it is. Okay.
Yeah. And to the person who had one final question, but we'll try to get to that when there's another pause for questions. We're going to move on now.
Oh, okay. I mean, we can take one more and then we'll move
Okay,
on.
you want to take
Yeah.
this one more, and then we aren't taking any more until the next pause. If a couple had a donor to get pregnant, never told the daughter, who is now 16, that her father is not her biological father, what suggestions do you have on, work to slowly open them up or that's it up?
So I guess the first question I would have, I mean, who's coming in? Is it just the mom? Is it the mom and dad, albeit not the biological dad? What was their initial agreement? I certainly have seen couples where the agreement is, we're never telling. You know, it's not a good agreement. It's not a good decision. And would that doctors who work in fertility would explain that to people, but a lot of them don't. So the work needs to be first with that couple. And, you know, usually in my experience, when there's this kind of situation, the parent who is not the quote biological parent is terrified they're going to lose the kid, that the child won't love them anymore, and so forth. So, you know, you want to work on that first and get all their fears, their predictions, their, you know, what do they think could happen? What's the worst thing that could happen? What's the best thing that could happen? And I would certainly ask, if you don't tell her, who do you think will? Because this is a kind of secret that has never stayed just with that couple. I assure you. They have siblings, they have parents, there's friends, there's other people who know. And so when you ask that question, if you don't tell her, who do you think will? Boy, does that focus the mind on, oh, I think I better be the one to figure out how to tell her this. Sounds like they may have gotten some bad advice. There are certainly, I've heard many stories about fertility doctors who tell people you don't need to tell your child, and on and on and on. Today, you can't keep that secret. You might have been able to 25 years ago, but in terms of where science has gone, and not just science, but just the whole internet, I mean, I'll just tell you a quick example of a situation where a daughter was born with a donor egg, and they were not going to tell her, and she was already in her 20s, and she said, for Christmas I'm getting everybody ancestry.com. Well, okay, this secret's going to come out. And so they knew that they needed to be the ones to tell her. However, they didn't get a chance to, because one of her half siblings contacted her on Facebook. I mean, that's the world we're living in today. So the kinds of secrets that people may think they can keep that maybe they could have kept 20, 25, 30 years ago, you just can't do it anymore. And so if people come to you with the question, so what should we do? Let's look at the science, first of all, because you can't keep a secret like that any longer. So who would you like your child to learn this from? And hopefully the answer will be from us. We want her to learn it from us. And you figure out with them different developmental stages when you can tell this much and then this much and then this much, so that it does come from them and not from some stranger on Facebook. Okay, I think we'll go on. I want to go over with you some questions to ask in deciding to conceal or reveal a secret. Okay, so the first is what I call, who owns the secret? And owns is in quotation marks. Who does it currently belong to? By which I mean, who is it about? Okay, secrets are about people, about human relationships. Then I want to know who has the right to know. And by right to know, what I mean is, who can't make good life decisions without this information? That's what I mean by right to know. Okay. Whose well-being is affected by the secret? Different family members in different categories, in different amounts. What relationships are handicapped by the secret? So we're hearing about, somebody who doesn't know that their father is not their bio dad. That's a relationship that is handicapped by this secret. Does the secret violate shared assumptions in a relationship? And by that I mean, if you're in a relationship, whether it's a romantic, not romantic, friendship, family, is there an assumption about openness or not? If there is an assumption about openness, then a secret may be violating that assumption. Then I want to know, how is your behavior impacted by keeping the secret? So people come into us, and let's say they come alone to a first session and they reveal a secret. Before I get too busy with, well, we should open this, I want to know what impact it's having. What about the person who's sitting in front of me? How is their behavior impacted? How is their feeling about themselves impacted? They came to me for a reason, to get some help, probably, in opening it. Who are you protecting by making or keeping a secret? secrets do have that quality to them that I'm going to keep this secret because I need to protect my mother. I need to protect my sister from the knowledge. Are you intimidated into silence? Now, again, that's where, you're going to do a good genogram. You're going to find out different people's positions about the secret. And is somebody who's coming to you coming because they're frightened and they are intimidated into silence? Are you confused about when to tell? I'm sure a lot of you, like myself, have had sessions following a major holiday like Thanksgiving, which is coming up, when somebody thought, gee, this would be a good time to open the secret. Everybody's here. Not a good time. And if they're in therapy with you and they pose that, I would slow them way down, because holidays are holidays. They're not a time to open secrets, but I'm sure you all know that it happens. It happens more than it should. Are you too ashamed to open a secret? So somebody comes in to see you, and in a first or second session, might not be a first session, you might not, in fact, they might leave a first session with you feeling a little confused, like what did they want? I don't quite understand it. And then by the second session, they're telling you that there's a secret, and they're very ashamed of it. They don't want to tell anybody, but they came to tell you. So then I would want to know, and probably give this as homework, the advantages and disadvantages on each person in the system, if they were to know this knowledge, the advantages and disadvantages on each relationship, if they were to know this knowledge, and the advantages and disadvantages on the whole family system, if they were to know this knowledge. Because when somebody is feeling a lot of shame, they're coming to us sometimes to unload, when, and there's nothing wrong with that, but when in fact what's needed is our help to help them to figure out whose information is this, who needs to know it, what will change if it opens, what will change if it doesn't open, all of those kinds of questions. Are you opening a secret in anger? Never a good thing. People will come in to talk to us, and they're mad at somebody, and by God, they're going to tell them the truth. Well, not if you want to continue a relationship with them. So slow them down, make the assumption that they came to you for some good direction. Okay, maybe that's not why they came. Maybe they came because they wanted to tell somebody, I'm so mad and this is what I'm going to do. But I think we can have an important impact on slowing things down that will be useful. Is someone opening a secret to divide loyalties? Another thing that you don't want. You don't want somebody comes into you, they've got a secret. I'm going to tell my mother, but I'm going to tell her she can't tell my father, and on and on and on. Okay, so the impact is not just on that one relationship, but on many, and I would want to slow that person down. Is someone opening a secret to get the burden off their back and onto someone else's? And again, slow them down. What's that about? Why do you want to do that to your sister, brother, cousin, etc.? And what will be the impact on all of the different relationships? Is someone opening a secret out of a sense of self-righteousness? I know this information, and this information should be known by everybody, and so on. Slow them down. Slow them down. Okay. They're coming to us for a reason, right? And I don't think the reason is, please, therapist, give me permission to do this. And I might ask that, tell me why you came. Did you come so that I would give you permission to do this? You don't need my permission. You're your own person. If you'd like my opinion, I'll give it to you. Okay. Okay. Are you opening a secret out of a sense of self-righteousness? I know this information and I'm going to tell it because it should be known, and so forth. Again, slow them down. Are you opening a secret in order to regain a sense of integrity and balance in your life? That's the best thing. That's what we can hope for. That somebody wants your help, your guidance, your coaching, to open a secret in a way that will restore their sense of integrity and balance. Are you opening a secret because you truly believe the information belongs to another person or will enhance another person's life? Now, those are two different things, right? I can't necessarily judge. I can't, not just necessarily, I can't judge without knowing someone whether information that has been kept secret coming out will enhance their life. I don't know. I'd have to meet them, right? Now, if somebody says to you, I want to open this because I really think this secret belongs to my sister. It's a secret about her paternity, say. She has a right to it. Then I would want to get a good genogram, know all the players, know what's going to be the impact, and probably, if it's a secret of birth origins, your client's right. That belongs to the person whose birth origin it pertains to. And finally, are you opening a secret in order to reopen a relationship? Now, that's what we would mostly hope for, right? So those are some questions that you can use. And let me just see where to go next here. I'm aware of time. Okay. So we're thinking about secrets. They are magnets in relationships, in family relationships. They attract some family members and repel others. They create a complex web of repetitive interactions, shaping contours of proximity and distance, sculpting the relationships. Those who know become uncomfortably bound to one another, often unable to acknowledge differing thoughts and beliefs. in domains outside of the secret. Those kept out may experience confusion and puzzlement. Clues may abound and yet be coupled with a large message wrapped in swift subject changes and loud silences. Don't go there. So this is all about you being able to read the room, being able to see what it is people are saying to us without words. Okay. And that's part of being a good systems therapist. All the nonverbal behavior, the seating arrangements, and so forth. Acting as relational governors, secrets determine allowable topics and permissible emotions. In families holding a central secret, more and more subjects become unavailable for conversation. So the family sort of closes in on itself, lest they lead back to the secret and the taboo and all that shouldn't be spoken about. Guardedness replaces buoyancy. Relationships close down, losing their elasticity needed for problem solving and vibrant living. I'm sure all of you have at some point had either a couple or a whole family where the energy in the room is like dead, right? Like something's got people all tied up in knots. And that would be a clue to me that there are probably secrets or a central secret that we need to talk about. Unless you're keeping a secret completely to yourself, a secret creates and maintains a triangle. I know I talked about that before, but it can never be said enough. Two or more who know, and everyone else on the outside. When triangles are shaped by secrets, some relationships are allowed closeness, while others experience constant conflict, competition, distance, or cutoff. The secret-keeping relationship itself becomes a secret. Long forgotten history echoes in the sources of shame connected to secrets, while blending the unseen with new beliefs. For instance, in the Middle Ages, the bodies of those who committed suicide were thrown over the town wall. In the mid-20th century, suicide continued to mean no burial in certain religious ceremonies. Today, a belief in mental illness as the genesis of a suicide allows religious burial. So there's movement in what must be kept secret and what can be talked about. Nonetheless, secrecy about a suicide often remains across generations, wrapped in the belief debunked by research that to speak of it will provoke others to commit suicide. So if this pertains to your practice, you want to find ways to talk to people about that. Verbal and nonverbal discrepancies grow in the soil of secrecy. The spoken and the unspoken simply do not match, creating internal mystification and relational unreliability. A small boy comes upon his seriously ill mother weeping and is told everything is just fine. Teens see their drunken father passed out on the couch daily while their mother insists daddy is tired. Further inquiries are blocked. Soon the siblings are talking only with each other, hiding out in their rooms, or getting into distracting trouble, knowing while pretending not to know. Curiosity is blunted, causing new learning to languish. Communication becomes undependable, marked by uncomfortable silences and veneers of politeness, alternating with meaningless arguments that fill the house with noise. That first case I talked to you about, they told me right in the first session, they said, "We think you should know we don't like outsiders." I said, "Who are outsiders?" "Everybody but the people in our family." I said, "Well, how do you treat outsiders?" "With politeness and distance." Good luck, therapist, right? More and more topics go off limits, since talking about one thing might lead to another, and finally back to that which must not be spoken. Problem solving becomes impossible, as critical matters cannot be discussed. Genuine conversation disappears, replaced with trivia and stilted non sequiturs. Relationships grow untrustworthy, and then they end up in your office. In an atmosphere marked by secrecy, children and adolescents expend energy better spent on schooling and friendships, searching for clues. They may become increasingly inquisitive about the unnamed and unknown, altering their identity in the quest to discover. A teen kept out of a paternity secret starts to mirror the behavior of his alcoholic and long dead father. His frantic mother believes his drinking must be, quote, genetic. The boy finally learns the true identity of his biological father, and his drinking ceases. So information, information, information. Some children turn away, seemingly uninterested, confirming the parents' insistence that the matter, a divorce, a serious illness, father's job loss, is of no matter to the children. Or they may provide diversions through confounding yet metaphorical behavior, behavior that is code for some aspect of the hidden. Maintaining a secret that lives and breathes every day in a family. Alcoholism, drug abuse, marital distance, and discord requires the skills of a high wire acrobat. Family members must organize their lives to preserve secrecy, while at the same time pretending not to notice. Adolescents may be told aloud that individuality is valued, while breathing in the unspoken message that family loyalty takes precedence. Boundaries between the family and the outside world of friendships and social interests becomes impenetrable. The no trespassing sign once again. Deciding when or whether to open a family secret requires careful reflection. Does a given secret wholly belong to you, family member, or is it co-owned? The latter requires collaborative decisions to speak or to remain silent. When there's been deep silence, the very act of speaking about whether or not to speak begins a process of change. Has spontaneity in family relationships been sacrificed on the altar of caution and hypervigilance? Does someone have an ethical right to the knowledge buried in a secret? And here I'm thinking of secrets of birth origin, medical diagnosis, terminal illness. Those pertain to a person's autonomy. Keeping such secrets involves arrogance. Quote, I know what's best for you to know in areas that directly impact your life. Secrets profoundly shape family relationships and individual identity. Considering greater openness requires a period of fantasy and mental agility to challenge worn-out scripts. When topics are avoided that might remotely touch on a secret, and distance between people seems fixed and immutable, and you would like it to be different, then it's time to envision speaking. So when people come into you, if they come in as an individual and they describe this, you want to help them look through that. The risks to self and relationship are deeply etched. The benefits need to be imagined. So I'm aware of time, and I'm going to stop and ask for more questions, Marlene.
Okay, thank you. This question is, what might be the advantage of disclosing early sexual abuse of an uncle by revered grandfather? The uncle was able to confront the father, and the father acknowledged the events, but neither of them want the grandchildren to know of this history. So they're asking, what are the pros and cons of airing this part of the family history?
Boy, I would need to know a whole lot more. Who was abused by the grandfather?
The uncle.
The uncle. The
Yes.
the son of, in other words, the grandfather.
Yes, it was the son. Mm-hmm.
Well, I would want to look at the advantages and disadvantages on every person and every relationship of opening it or not opening it. So I think that exercise, and it's one that you can just file away and bring it out whenever you need it, of looking at the advantages and disadvantages of opening a secret. Because people come in and they know all the disadvantages. Boy, oh boy, do they ever. But they're coming to you for a reason. So I don't know who the presenting person or people were in this example, but somebody, I'm assuming, wants to challenge the grandfather's wishes, I think. And I'd want to know, who is that? What would happen if they do? What would happen if and I don't know how old the children are. I mean, that's a whole other thing. Are these grown children? Are these little kids? Are these teenagers? But what would be the consequences if the child or children find out some other way, not by somebody in the family who they trust, giving them the information? So I want to ask questions that are going to make people think about their decision. Again, why are they coming to me in the first place? Are they coming to me just to have me stamp it and say, sure, do it that way? Or are they coming to me, which I like to believe, for us to bat it around, look at all sides of it? What would be the implications of going against the grandfather's wishes? what would be the reasons for going against grandfather's wishes, and on and on and on. So there would be, I don't know who the client is or clients, but somebody is presenting, and this could be, about this instance of sexual abuse, could be about all kinds of things, where someone makes the pronouncement, I forbid you to talk about this. Well, wait a minute. I mean, what? And what will be the implication if I do talk about it? Are you going to stop talking to me forever? Or can we work it through? Will you come with me to see the therapist? And so forth.
Okay. I think you've answered this next question, so I'm going to go to the question that follows. This question is about your thoughts on secrets and whether or not they've changed or evolved since you published your book on the secret life of families.
In other words, are people making secrets about new things? Is that what
Well, it's
it
about your
means?
thoughts. Have you changed in your view?
Oh, have I changed in my
Yes.
views?
Yes.
Well, one would hope that every day I change a little bit in my views. But my central thinking in both The Secret Life of Families and the edited book, Secrets in Families and Family Therapy, that has a lot of different chapters by different people, are largely similar, I would say. I don't think I've changed radically. I value relationships that are open, that can be trusted, that people are willing to do the work to get to that place, because if they're coming in to see us, probably it's not there yet. But that certainly hasn't changed. And when you look, the world is going crazy right now, right? And look at what that secrecy did in Gaza. I can't believe how many hundreds of people had to be keeping a secret that they were going to attack Israel. I just can't imagine, because secrets don't usually stay with, more than two people. But that's the world we're living in right now. And, I think as therapists, we need to be strong for people. We need to get our own assistance if we need it. We need somebody that we can talk to about our work, the people we see, our dilemmas. Yeah, I just think that's critical. And I hope people will do that. I still do.
Okay, thanks. This next question is, what does creating a safe, brave space entail to promote healing individually and for family systems?
Could you ask that again? What does
creating a safe and brave space entail to promote healing individually and for family systems? I guess they're asking, how do you create a safe space for them, the families, to heal?
Yeah, well, I mean, boy, oh boy. I think it's in the nature of your relationship with people, right? I don't know about brave, but safe. I mean, I want people to know that what they tell me, unless they give me permission, stays with me, unless it's something dangerous. I want people to know that they can ask me anything, and I'll do my best to answer. And if I can't answer, I'll say so. Or I may go look for the information for them, or guide them to go look for the information. I guess it comes down to being trustworthy. That people are going to feel that they're being held, so to speak, in a safe space, and it's a space where there can be anger, there can be distance, there can be sadness, the whole gamut, and that is all allowable and welcomed.
Okay. This question asks whether or not there is typically one family member who wants the secret out more than others.
Well, yes, I think so. I mean, look, people are different in a family. It's pretty rare that people come, like, let's say, as a family group, 4 or 5 people, and in an initial session say, here's what we want. We want your help opening this secret to our mother. Okay, how'd you get to that? I'd want to know. I've never had that happen, by the way. But, people are going to have different positions. And I think it's our job to help people elucidate those positions to one another, and to negotiate the positions, and go slow, unless you think they're going to leave and never see you again. Usually you have time on your side. And so remember that, and tell the family that, we have time on our side. This doesn't have to happen tonight. This doesn't even have to happen next week, but we're going to get there. There's a lot I don't understand yet, and I need you to help me understand it. And I think if that's your mindset and you're open, people will tell you stuff and will ask for your help with telling other people. That's in my experience anyway. Yeah.
Some of these questions seem to be variations of what you have already answered. So I'm going to skip, in the interest of time, to this.
Yeah, because we're running out of time. Yeah.
Yes. And that's the question about developmental appropriateness of revealing secrets to children.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, so much depends on how old are we talking about? What age? What's the secret? Okay, what's the content of the secret? And what are people looking for? So if parents come in, they say, we've never told our 5-year-old that he's adopted, and we want your help doing that. Yeah, I'm going to get busy working, because that's not a good secret to keep from a child. Okay. If they come in with that same 5-year-old and want to know, should they tell the child the family's net worth, I'm probably going to say, what for? So I never had that happen. But so much depends on which child, what's the content of the secret, what do they predict will be the implications of opening it. Okay. All of that, I think you want to talk to them about. You want to have, if it's parents, that's again where I would use that intervention of advantages and disadvantages on each person, on each relationship, and on the family as a whole to open whatever this particular secret is. Yeah.
Okay. I want to thank you for this incredible and very informative seminar on
Thank you, Marlene. Thank
secret.
you. It's been a joy to be here. Let me close with some words of H.L. Mencken, who
Okay.
said, penetrating so many secrets, we cease to believe in the unknowable. But there it sits, calmly licking its chops. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And my apologies for starting to thank you before your closing remarks.
It's all right. I still got it in.
Yes, you did. So thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
very
you're
much.
welcome.
We very much appreciate it. And thanks to all of our participants. We hope that you will join us for the next lecture that will be in November. Please go to our website, www.acumen.org, and you can see and register for the upcoming lectures. So
Right.
thank you very much, and
Yeah.
good day and good night.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.